So now let's talk about the types of research. There are two basic types of research. One, basic research. Two, applied research. Basic research is research that is aimed at expanding or advancing the frontiers of knowledge by creating new theories or modifying existing ones. While applied research is research that is aimed at solving a specific identified problem. It will be helpful for us to see the difference between basic research and applied research so that we can really appreciate the types of research. This figure or this table should help us to do so. First, let's look at the meaning. Basic research refers to study that is aimed at expanding existing base of scientific knowledge. That is, you want to add to existing discussion. Several articles or several works has been written on a particular topic, and if your aim is to expand on that work, like to add to what people are already talking about, that is basic research. Applied research is research that is designed to solve specific practical problems or answer certain questions. So if your aim is to solve a specific problem, let's say in an organization where you work, you've observed that there's something wrong about maybe sales record, or you've observed that in your school, children are not really paying so much attention, or they are losing their focus when it comes to academics, and this is affecting their performance in school, and you want to carry out a research into that problem so that you can provide solution to that problem, then what you are undertaking is called applied research. But if you're just looking at adding to existing knowledge on possible causes of children's distraction in school, you just want to look at it, you just want to talk about possible problems, maybe problem areas they've not really considered, or how it affects a particular environment. You're not very keen on using it to solve a particular problem you've identified, then that is basic research. So basic research falls under some of the essays we write. Your professor might give you an essay and say, can you tell us how warehousing processes can change in the event of COVID-19? That is basic research. So it's not like you have identified a problem of a particular warehouse that maybe because of COVID-19 they've been having shortages or they've been having a lot of wastages, and you want to see possible strategies, warehousing strategies they can adopt to solve that problem. That would be applied research. Okay, so I hope this difference is clear. You also have to look at the nature of the research. So basic research is purely theoretical, while applied research is very practical. How is basic research used? Basic research is used universally. You can make general conclusions about what you are investigating. Applied research has a limited usage, okay? You just use it for that problem or for that organization that is experiencing that problem. That is why you have case studies. So once you have case studies, if you're doing a work that is case study based, then your work is applied research, because the finding will apply to that limited number of, or that limited audience, okay, or the case, or the case the organization you're using as a case study. Basic research is concerned with developing scientific knowledge and predictions, while applied research is concerned with developing technology, developing techniques or solutions to problems. The goal of basic research is to add some knowledge to already existing ones, while applied research, its goal is to find out solutions for the problem you are experiencing. We hope that is clear enough. So there are different types of research papers or research outputs. Whether you're doing an empirical and you're doing an applied research, or you're doing a basic research, you can present that research in different types, okay, or in different outputs, or as different outputs rather. So what are the types of research papers or research outputs? We have systematic review, what some people will call meta-analysis, although meta-analysis is an aspect of systematic review. In systematic review, we can have qualitative systematic review and quantitative systematic review, and meta-analysis. So meta-analysis can be seen as an aspect of systematic review, but the general term for this kind of review is called systematic review. So what is systematic review? Systematic review is review that uses repeatable analytical method to collect secondary data and analyze it. So it's more exhaustive than a literature review, because literature review would basically include published work, okay, published literature that's already out there. But in systematic review, the difference is that it includes what is called gray literature. Gray literature. So gray literature refers to literature that, it's basically unpublished. So gray literature is a significant part of the systematic review, and it adds value to the review. This is because gray literature is often more current than works that have already been published, and gray literature is likely to have less publication bias. Gray literature could include unpublished studies, reports, maybe from the media or things like that, dissertations that someone has just concluded, conference papers and abstracts, governmental research, and ongoing clinical trials. These are gray literature, and they are a major part of the systematic review. Meta-analysis is a quantitative formal epidemiological study design that is used to systematically assess the result of previous researches to derive conclusions about that body of research. So typically, but not necessarily, meta-analysis are studies that are based on randomized controlled clinical trials. Meta-analysis is usually used in clinical works or in medical research. The next type of research piece or research paper I want to talk about is the opinion study. So an opinion study is a piece that mainly reflects your position or your opinion about a topic or a subject or a phenomenon you're investigating. Such studies are usually published in newspapers or magazines or as letters to the editor. So you will see some journals, they ask you to submit letters, editorials. For editorials, you can actually submit an opinion study. That opinion study can inform future research, but the opinion study is basically a research or a piece of your own position, what you think about a subject. You still have to do a review of other people's work, but that review may not be critical. But you still have to talk about talk about the phenomenon, you still describe it, and then you bring in your own position about that subject. If you have such opinion studies already, go to call for papers. You can visit academichive.com, search for calls, go to call for papers. If you see a call that is calling for editorials, okay, or what is called letter to the editor, then you can submit an opinion study. It's going to be accepted. Another kind of research paper is what is called the white paper. So the white paper is an informational document that is used to propose a solution to a problem. Typically, the purpose of a white paper is to advocate that a certain position is the best way to go, or that a certain solution is best for a particular problem. It is an informational document, like we said, that is usually used by maybe a company or a not-for-profit organization to promote or highlight the features of a solution, a product, or a service that it offers or it plans to offer. So that is what is called white paper. White paper are used to propose solutions to a problem. They usually start with a big picture, okay, a big picture view of an issue, and then they lead the researcher to a specific proposal for a solution. Okay. So how about a research proposal? A research proposal, we would all know this if we have already had a first degree. At some point, you may have been asked to provide a research. You may have been asked to provide a research proposal for your work at some point in time. So the proposal is a document that proposes a research project. So generally, in the sciences or academia, okay, and or generally when you're requesting for sponsorship for your research work, you will be asked to provide a proposal. So the proposal is evaluated on costs, potential impacts of your proposed research, and then the soundness of your proposed plan for carrying out the research. The main content of your proposal should be an introduction, and then a literature review section, the aims and objectives, the research design or the research methods you want to use, ethical consideration, and then possibly if you're for budget, if you're submitting the proposal for maybe a grant, you also want to include a budget to your proposal and a research timeline, okay, the timeline for starting and completing that research. So that can come as an appendix to your budget, and make sure that, to your proposal rather, and make sure that your research or your research proposal contains citations. You cite people to back up your point, and then you have a bibliography or a reference list for the citations you've included in your work. The dissertation is more like the completed or the implemented proposal. Let's put it that way. But the dissertation is a research project that is completed as part of an undergraduate or postgraduate degree. When you're asked to carry out a dissertation, it means they want you to carry out a research project, okay, an independent research project of your own, and then you'll be assessed for a research degree based on the dissertation or the thesis you submit. So basically, you may be asked to first of all present a proposal before you're asked to commence the dissertation. So what are some of the research writing hacks you need to know? Always provide justification for different elements of your research work. Even if it's the introduction phase, provide a justification. Justifications are necessary for every aspect of your research. Make a case. Let people see why you are doing this work. Let people see that you're not just doing it because you slept and woke up and felt like doing that work. Let people know that you're doing it because this thing has been talked about or has been advocated for by existing scholars, or maybe it's a problem in the society which, if you provide solution to, you will be solving myriads of problem as well. So second hack you should know is that there is no one correct way of doing research. As you can see, we have already proposed, or we've already shown you the different types of research papers. There's no one correct way of doing research. You can choose to do an opinion study. You can choose to do a proposal. You can choose to do a systematic review. It all depends on the audience you want to address. But what you should do is always justify every method you decide to use for your research. Always justify it, and justify it in such a way that it appeals to your audience. Spend a lot of time on your method as well. That is what makes your research unique. Recall that we said there is no one, there's no totally new research, especially when you're writing for the academics or for the academia. There's no research that is totally new under the sun. But what you want to do is that the method you are using, the method the method you're using to approach that research problem can be different. Spend a lot of time thinking about your research methods. That is what will make your research unique. Here is also what you should know. A good journal article has relatively few pages of introduction and literature review, but spends more time or more pages on talking about the research methods. When we get to the class on research method, you will see why this is so.